That's what it is. You are invalidating somebody's pain. Somebody comes to you and they pour their heart out, or they are vulnerable enough to tell you that they're experiencing something that they are really struggling with. And if your response is, oh, you just need to be positive and you're going to get over this and let's just go have fun. I hate to see you like this. I hate it when you're down. Come on, and you drag them into this fun thing. And the entire time they're having fun with you, somewhere inside of them, they're thinking, wow, they just completely ignored what I was coming to them for.
This is the Joy Act, where finding joy beyond divorce begins with your understanding that the depth of your heartache shows the depth of your capacity for joy. I'm Dr. Lisa Summerour, and together we'll use accountability, alignment, communication, and trust to transform your journey. It's time to step into the Joy Act.
And, this episode, I am talking about positivity. And I'm talking about what happens, is it possible to be too positive? I like to consider myself a very positive person. Matter of fact, I was going through therapy. I was going to counseling with an ex. They weren't an ex at the time, but they are now. And I remember leaving the therapist's office one day, and we stopped on the stairs, and my ex turned to me and said, well, I know you're going to be all right. Because this was the session where we knew it was over. And he turned to me and he said, I knew you were going to be all right. And I just looked at him and he said, because you have all that positivity crap. He used a different word. And it was just like, I had to laugh, because the fact that normally would be a compliment, but it was like, you have all this positivity crap. And it just bothered him to no end that this was not going to crush me for some reason, right? That's how I interpreted it. And then recently, I had posted something on Facebook, and it wasn't related to positivity. It was a situation that was going on, and I think I responded to something. And somebody posted, well, you just have to be positive because that makes all the difference. And I thought, sometimes we take this positivity thing to an unrealistic extreme. And I really believe that almost anything taken to an extreme, even if it starts off good, I think if you take it to an extreme, you risk losing the goodness of it. You know what I mean? You could be a giver, but if you take that to the extreme, you end up sort of being a martyr. People, I'll give the shirt off my back. Well, that sounds great. But if you're freezing and homeless and you want to give the shirt off your back and you die because of it, not really good. Or just giving for the sake of giving so that you can be perceived as that type of person when you really don't have it to give. And some people do this with finances. They just want to keep giving, and they give themselves into a ridiculous debt because they don't know how to say no. And so that's when something that normally would look like it's good could actually not be good. So it's taking things to the extreme. So this is an episode where I want to talk about sort of the finding that balance, or I like the word flow, because there could be a dark side to positivity, or a not so positive side when you're just positive and it doesn't even make sense. So if you've ever said to somebody who, you're struggling through something, you're just having a bad day, and somebody just says, well, just keep an upper chin, be positive. And then they just, go on their merry way. And you're like, I just told them I was just devastated. I just told them, one of the worst things that's ever happened to me, and their antidote, their fix for me was for me to be positive. So what is it to be positive? What does that even mean? So I want to talk about these potential downsides to this positivity just for the sake of being positive. And I'm not bashing positivity. I am a proponent of it. I think looking on the sunny side of the street, I have a mom that we describe as unicorn, rainbow, cotton candy, and what is it? And unicorns, cotton candy, and rainbows is my mom's persona to some degree. And that's a great way to be. It's good to be able to bounce back. It's good to be able to look at all sides of something and not miss the positive sides, even when some of the worst things in the world could be happening to you. However, it's also really important that you really pay attention to what's actually happening. Because you're having a bad experience doesn't mean you should pretend that it's not painful, that it's not troubling, that you don't have some concerns about it, that it's not causing you anxiety. I think the over positivity is like this pressure to stay upbeat no matter what. And that's where I think it becomes a problem, where you are basically forcing yourself to come up with this happy persona, this happy-go-lucky exterior, no matter what. And sometimes it doesn't match what's actually happening in your life. It reads disingenuous, right? So if you lose your job and somebody just says, well, everything happens for a reason. Well, okay, well, that's with everything. Everything you could say, well, you do say it, right? Everything happens for a reason. But that skips over what's going on for you, especially if you've said, I'm really stressed out or anxious about what just happened. You deserve to be able to experience the emotions that you're having and the feelings that you're feeling and the thoughts that are coming into your head. It is okay for you to want to examine those things and move through them, not try to leapfrog over them with just, well, you know what, just lost my job, house is in foreclosure, I think I'll just be positive, something good is going to happen. It's not realistic. I just don't think it's human. And very often when somebody does that, when somebody kind of overrides what you just said with this overt positivity mantra, it may be their way of saying to you, I am not good at dealing with problems. And so there's no way that I'm going to let you present one to me and we're going to dig into it because I'm not good at this. So I'm going to assume you're not good at it or you don't want to do it. And I'm going to give you this positivity overload so you can leapfrog over your problem and pretend that it doesn't exist. And that's just not what happens. So for somebody who's going through a breakup or a divorce, especially with breakups, sometimes people have a harder time doing this with a divorce, but I've seen it. Either way, it's the person that says, oh, you're better off without him. You're going to get over this. You're going to be okay. And all of that may be true. Maybe you are better off without them. And that still doesn't mean you may not mourn the loss, right? You probably will get over it if that's your intention to get over it. It may depend on how much effort you want to put into it and what kind of resources you have on how long it takes you to move through it. But getting over it doesn't mean you ignore the fact that you need to go through it to get over it. You're not, you're not leapfrogging over what's really happening in your life. And so when I look at this from the perspective of a relationship coming to an end, yeah, it's good to be positive and go, I know I'm going to get through this. And at some point I'm going to be okay. Right now I'm struggling with how that's going to happen. I don't know what kind of help. I know I need help and I don't know what kind of help I need. I do believe somewhere in me I'm going to get over it because it's disheartening when I meet someone or talk to someone who really is so stuck and they can't even see a way out. They don't even know how they're going to get out. But that's real. And it's okay for you to be in that place. The fact that you might be listening to this or talking to somebody like me or even talking to a friend who's able to allow you to be in that space, that's a sign that you are at least connecting with somebody. You have a support person who will allow you to actually live in that space and experience the emotion that you need to experience, because your emotions, the pain, doesn't just go away because you ignore it. Jumping into the positivity boat and jumping over all of what's really happening for you doesn't mean that it went away. It just means you've put it at bay. You've set it aside. You're ignoring it. You're pretending it's not there, but it's still there. And at some point, something is likely going to happen that's going to cause you to respond. And it may look out of sorts when you do, because you may be responding to something based on these emotions that you've been tanking down, that you've been pushing down or submerging, right? And so that emotional suppression is real. It's that bottling up of an emotion, and you've seen it and maybe even experienced it yourself when you've had an outburst at something or somebody and it makes no sense at all. It make people are looking at you like, okay, where did that come from? We're just standing in the grocery store line and the woman is just taking her time getting her checkbook out and this guy just went ballistic because it wasn't about the woman dragging the line with the checkbook. It was all this pent up frustration from something that hadn't been addressed yet. And this is where they couldn't contain it anymore. Something that was completely unrelated, and it's a disassociated outburst, but an outburst nonetheless. And you are standing there going, okay, that was weird. And if you've ever done that, you kind of could walk away going, okay, what in the heck just happened to me? What just happened to me? So focusing on only the positivity could be a sign that you are ignoring actual problems. You're ignoring them, and it's like this. It's like a leaky faucet. It's like a leaky faucet. You can keep thinking positively because you're like, oh, it's just so little. It's not going to do anything. But that leaky faucet, if you're going on vacation, could end up flooding your bathroom. Or that leaky faucet could cause damage somewhere because it's leaking in your wall. Excuse me, and you just haven't been paying attention. You saw one little water spot and thought, oh, this isn't that bad. And you just kept ignoring it. And it just becomes a bigger and bigger problem that you don't see until it's so big that you can't ignore it anymore. And this kind of stuff can put strain on relationships because when you do this to someone else, you're invalidating somebody's pain. That's what it is. You are invalidating somebody's pain. Somebody comes to you and they pour their heart out, or they are vulnerable enough to tell you that they're experiencing something that they are really struggling with. And if your response is, oh, you just need to be positive and you're going to get over this and let's just go have fun. I hate to see you like this. I hate it when you're down. Come on, and you drag them into this fun thing. And the entire time they're having fun with you, somewhere inside of them, they're thinking, wow, they just completely ignored what I was coming to them for. And so you leave somebody feeling like you're not a good listener. You're not a good listener, or even worse, okay, this person really doesn't care about my emotional state. And people who love you and want the best for you, there should be some element of them caring about your emotional state. So this is also, I'm going to segue a little bit, but when I talk about in my book having a support team, this is when you can separate an acquaintance or a friend from a friend who can be part of your support team. Because you may have that friend that you love dearly who is Mr. or Miss Positivity with everything, and they're just, woo, everything is so wonderful. And that's fine, except you also know if you go to them with a problem, they're just going to take you to let's be happy and let's not even talk about anything bad. I just can't deal with anything bad. And so we're just not, and they may be that friend. And that friend is not going to be a good part of your support team when you're going through a crisis, because you can't have a genuine conversation with them about real emotions unless they're the happy, positive, happy-go-lucky ones. And that's not what you need. So in order to get what you need, you've got to be really good with keeping yourself in alignment with what's actually going on with you, because it could be easy to get sucked into that positivity vortex where you now take part in not dealing with what's really going on with you. Because you're just going to be so positive and you're just going to bypass the negative and you're going to find things to do to take your mind off of it and let it be a distraction. And again, the pain, the difficulty, all of that stuff is not going to go away. You got to confront it. I had an old pastor used to say, you can't fix what you won't face. So you need to acknowledge all your emotions. You need to acknowledge when you're sad. You need to acknowledge when you're angry or frustrated. These things are normal and they're necessary. And the best thing that you can do for yourself is to acknowledge them, name them, and then figure out, why am I feeling like this? Like, what am I supposed to learn from this? Where is this frustration coming from? And I always say this, you don't have to like the answer, but you're gonna do better if you get the answer. So in other words, why am I frustrated? Or why am I sad? Why am I broke up with this person, or they left me, and I know the relationship was just going in the toilet. It was causing me so much stress and so much anxiety, and it's obvious they didn't want to be here and they're gone. And then you go, but why am I sad? Like, I miss them. And then you can mess yourself up because you're like, I want them to be gone, but I miss them. Yeah, like we are capable of both of those things being true pretty much at the same time. And it's okay. And if you write it out or talk it out with yourself, you can say things like, okay, I know they don't need to be here and we don't need to be together, and these are the reasons why. And you can list all of the things that were going on in that relationship that were causing you emotional harm or stress or whatever it was, and maybe they weren't happy either, right? And you can say, and the reason I miss them is because of, okay, Friday night was your movie night or date night, and for the most part you had a great Friday night date night with this person. Or there were things that you've done over the course of the relationship that you did together that now you're going to be doing by yourself, and you miss having that partner. And there may have been some amazingly wonderful things about the relationship. You know, because a relationship ends, because it doesn't work with that person, doesn't mean absolutely every single thing in the relationship was bad. Especially if you have children. I tell people, if you produced another human in a relationship with somebody, you should always celebrate that. I mean, everybody doesn't get to create a whole human. So if you were able to create another human with somebody, you can always celebrate that. That's a great thing that you're always going to have experienced with that person. And it's okay for you to say, man, and I hate the fact that we couldn't finish raising this human together in the same home, or whatever it is. You can be excited or you can be happy that something ended because it was not healthy for you, and sad that it ended because of some of the things that felt good about it. So I hope that made sense. And I know a lot of people need to hear that, because I think one of the ways we punish ourselves or torture ourselves is this guilt about having those dual feelings. So you want to practice mindful positivity, right? Mindful positivity. Be positive about the things that make sense for you to be positive about. And I would say that focus on the solution while you are still validating the feelings that you're having. So just that example I just gave of missing the person that you know you shouldn't be with, if you break those things down and really understand, why do I miss them? What is it that I miss? And it could be anything. Maybe the sex was phenomenal. Yeah, it's a thing. Maybe the sex was phenomenal and you miss that. Like, I don't know if I'm ever going to find anybody that's so sexually compatible, so physically compatible, and I miss that. If that's real, it's okay for you to miss that. And then for you to go, but you know what? Those few minutes of that phenomenal sex were not worth the hours of emotional pain that I went through trying to deal with this person, or the gaslighting, or the whatever it was, or the infidelity, whatever it was. There is a reason that it's over, and you need to remind yourself of that so you don't second guess why it's over, because it's not 100% in your control for it to get back together anyway. And if you're listening to this, you probably don't even want it to get back together, except when you have those moments of missing the person. And you can fool yourself if you jump into that overt positivity boat. You can fool yourself into thinking missing them means I want them back. I need to get this person back. Like, this is why I'm missing them, because I know I really should be with them. It's like, not necessarily. It's not necessarily so. So look, set boundaries by saying things like, if somebody hits you with this, oh, just be happy. Say, look, I really appreciate your optimism and I understand where it's coming from. Right now, I need to process these other emotions that I'm feeling. Pretty good, right? And that's how you can meet them where they are and then help get them back to where you are. I appreciate the optimism. I get what you're saying, and I love the energy that you're bringing. And I'm not even going to say but, and I need to process the emotions that I'm experiencing right now before I can step fully into what you're talking about. And I'm not there yet. And I need you to be okay with that. I need you to be okay with that. And this happens, it happens a lot with people in breakups. People just don't like to see somebody that they care about sad. We struggle with that. And it can be a challenge to separate that from, they're probably right, I shouldn't be moping. No, it's okay for you to be moping. It's okay for you to stay in bed for a day or two or a whole weekend. It's okay for you to want to eat a whole pint of your favorite ice cream or 3 chocolate, whatever it is. Again, moderation, and you don't take things to an extreme. Depression is a part of the loss cycle. It's a part of the process you're probably going to experience at some point if you end a relationship or even leave a job. But if it goes on for months and months, if you are thinking about harming yourself or anybody else, then you've hit a place where you need to go and get help. So it's time now to go call your doctor, or if it's really bad, call 911. So you do want to pay attention to the emotions that you're dealing with. Having said that, it doesn't mean the fix is just to be positive about everything and ignore all of those other emotions, because it's not human. Like we are multifaceted people with all these emotions coursing through us, and we deserve to be able to experience them and experiment with them and examine them and express them in ways that are healthy, because that's how you can get it out. I just learned something. I'm going to wrap up in a minute, but I learned something a few days ago listening to Diary of a CEO, and I can't think of the doctor's name off the top of my head, but she said when you name your emotions, they start losing their power. So when you are experiencing a negative emotion and you're like, I don't know what's going on with me, slow down and figure out what's going on with you. What am I feeling right now? What is going on with me? Am I angry? And if you can name that, it helps to kind of go, oh, okay, I know what this is. Now, the great thing about this, what I learned from her, when you can do that with somebody else, when you get a flash on somebody's face that they're upset with you, and you go, oh, I got it. I'm clocking that. I see they're upset with me. They look angry. Even doing that with somebody else helps you to be able to process it differently and deal with it differently. So just another little sidebar. So you want to find that balance. You want to find that balance between living with the emotions that you're actually experiencing, right? And knowing that it can get better and it likely will get better. And that's the positivity. Like, you want to be pulled into positivity, not pushed into positivity, right? You want to just get drawn into it because that's the path that you're on, and you're processing the emotions you're experiencing as you're moving in that direction. But you don't want to get dragged through all your emotions and not really be able to process them all in the name of, I just got to reach that positivity destination no matter what. Like, by any means necessary, I got to pretend I'm positive. So it's great. Positivity is great as long as it doesn't cost you the emotions that you're actually experiencing. I like that. That was good. It's great as long as it doesn't cost you your authenticity of experiencing the emotions that you're actually having and addressing the real issues. That's what you want to do. So take some time this week and just check in with yourself. Check in with yourself, especially if you're just coming out of a relationship. It's okay to check in with yourself and make sure that positivity could be on your horizon, but that doesn't mean you have to force yourself to feel it now. And you can give yourself doses of positivity. How about that? Maybe you aren't feeling great today, but you can think of something that you can do for a few minutes, like maybe make your favorite dish or call a friend and just have a conversation about something unrelated to what you're dealing with, just to have a distraction that feels good. And then you can go, okay, I needed that little reprieve, I needed that little break, but I can come back. So I hope this has helped you. I want to thank you for joining me for this episode of this podcast. And I look forward to seeing you next week. In the meantime, remember, joy is always within your reach. And every ending, remember that joy is always within your reach. And every ending can be the beginning of something really, really good. So go act in joy. Remember, joy is within your reach. Remember, joy is within your reach, and every ending is just the beginning. Go act in joy.